Right then, exciting times, exciting times. Each summer, as you all well know, those siblings organise and put some effort into trying to find ex-players, current players, ex-managers to talk to about their time at Ashton Gate and beyond. And what coup! What a loan signing for an hour and a half to have in the summer in Andi Weimann to join us. We'll be talking about his time before, during, and after Ashton Gate and how he's getting on at the moment. Andy, how are we getting on? You must miss us as much as we miss you.
Yeah, I'm doing all right, thanks. I'm just recovering from knee surgery at the minute, but it's going good. Yeah, I'm nearly fully back to fitness, so yeah, I'm feeling okay. To be fair, feeling all right.
I mean, we've got a few. During your time at Ashton Gate, there were a couple of injuries that we were going to focus on. But what is life like for a footballer when you're injured, especially one a little bit longer than most in knee surgery? You're a player with lots of energy on the pitch. Do you find it hard not to give out that same amount when you're in bed or on the sofa recovering?
Yeah, definitely. I think obviously the one at Bristol City when I did my ACL, that was probably the toughest one, just because it was during the season, and obviously you just watch the other lads play every Saturday, every Tuesday, and yeah, you miss being out there helping everyone. This one, to be fair, hasn't been as bad because it's obviously been off season, so I haven't missed too many games. But yeah, as a footballer, when you're injured, there's nothing worse, to be honest. You just sit in the treatment room, see everyone go outside and train, and you always it's a bit lonely, to be fair.
Yeah, I guess before we get into your time at Bristol City, how does an Austrian teenager end up at Aston Villa? It's not a sort of standard career path.
Yeah, no, it's not. I How it happened was I played for the it was the under 15s national team for Austria, and yeah, about a week later, it was before I had mobile phones and stuff. So I got my family home got a phone call from an agent who actually was my agent for the next 15 years after that, saying that Aston Villa contacted him, if he can get in touch with me and if I would like to come for a trial. And obviously in Austria you don't play during the winter period, so I think it was January. I went over for a week, me and my dad, and had a week training, played a game at the end. I did well, and then yeah, to be honest, they said straight after that week that they'd like me to come as a first year scholar, and sign for the under 18 team. And yeah, to be fair, from then on, I never looked back. Like I thought, yeah, like I can always come back to Austria, but I think I couldn't give up the opportunity to come to England. And then, like I said, yeah, I've been here 18 years since.
Yeah, adopted Englishman now. It must have been a bit of a culture shock, even though you're moving for football. It's obviously for a passion. Was there things like homesickness, things that maybe fans wouldn't sort of take into account, especially at such a young age?
Yeah, I think probably the language obviously was the hardest bit. I mean, I knew a little bit of English because in Austria you learn English in school, but it's obviously not great. Yeah, I was a month before I was 16, so it wasn't ideal, my English. So that was probably the hardest bit because obviously in England everyone just speaks English. So I had to learn English, but I lived with a host family. Um, so all I was able to do was speak English. So that's how you then pick it up quite quick because you just have to. And yeah, from the moment I was all right with English. I think it was, yeah. I never, like I said, I never looked back. I wouldn't say I was homesick ever. I just really loved being in England and playing football.
Yeah. I mean, it's Brummy as well, isn't it? It's just not going to be the easiest accent to understand straight
Yeah.
away as well.
Yeah, and all my coaches had, I think, from the youth team all the way to the first team, they were all Scottish, so that was even harder. So,
You formed quite an iconic Premier League partnership with Christian Benteke. I mean, goals at Anfield, two goals against Man United. It was a joy to watch for fans. It must have been a joy to play.
yeah, it was brilliant playing with him. I think, obviously, back in the day when I was 21, 22, playing with him, and yeah, one of my strengths was obviously I was pretty quick, and he was a beast in the air. So I just knew he'd win every header and or chest it down. So I used to just like run off him, and yeah, he was probably one of the best I played with. Like for that one season, I think he got like 24 goals that season. He was a joy to play with, definitely.
I mean, fans quite often will rewatch, highlights of an iconic season, or might revisit a campaign that brought them more joy than most. Do players do the same? Do you ever go back that far in your career and sort of revisit it in your mind, or even watch clips?
I see them. To be fair, I see them now with technology. I see them pop up on Twitter or on Instagram quite a bit now. Some like older goals from a few years back. So yeah, it's obviously always nice to see. Almost a bit crazy to think that was probably like 12 years ago or 13 years ago. But yeah, it's always nice to see. And then obviously I've got 3 children as well. So my son's 10 years old now, and he's obviously we live in the area, and he's a big Villa fan now as well. So yeah, I've showed him a few goals for me because he obviously never believed me that I used to play for them.
Yeah, it looked like amazing times. I mean, how did it feel signing for Derby in the end in 2015? How did that come about? And was there a bit of a risk joining the Championship side?
It was, to be honest, I think Paul Lambert, who was the manager at Aston Villa, he got let go in, I think it was February, and Tim Sherwood came in. And yeah, to be fair, it is what it is, like managers like players, and I just think I didn't really get a chance under him. I think from February to the end of the season, I didn't play as many games as I wanted to. And yeah, I've never been a player who's happy sitting on the bench. I always want to play, and I just felt it was probably the right time to leave. I did have a few options like in the Premier League as well, but I just felt my son was only 4 months at the time, and obviously Derby from where I lived was like 45 minutes away. So the location was good, and also their project, to be fair, they obviously put a lot of money into it, and they really wanted to get promoted. Unfortunately, obviously they didn't in the end. Obviously when I was there, we lost in the playoffs twice. But yeah, it was more like a step back to come back to the Premier League, which obviously in the end it didn't work out like that. But I wouldn't change anything. I'm happy with like what I did. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the project. It ended up being a bit of a Championship super team at points. It must have been quite a fun group to be in amongst. I think you look at some of the best known Championship players the last sort of 15, 20 years. A lot of them were in that Derby team at the end.
No, I think if I look at the team, I think we definitely should have got promoted. I think we obviously failed with that. Like I said, in the playoffs twice. I remember my first year, I think we were top of the league at Christmas and things like that, and then just things started falling away a little bit. But it was, the group was amazing. I still have friends like to this day now from being there, and like I said, just the only thing is that we didn't manage to get it over the line.
I mean, you ended up being passing ships really with Frank Lampard before you joined Bristol City, but are you aware of how he was told that you'd left the club?
I seen an interview or a podcast that he did, I think, when he said it. But yeah, I think that's what pretty much happened at Derby at that time. I think the owner obviously came into a bit of trouble, I think, with money wise and stuff. And I think basically every player who was on a contract was for sale, I think. And yeah, I remember he came in on the first day to be heard Frank Lampard, and then I just said, like, do you know what's going on? Obviously, because I've heard that there's been a fee agreed with Bristol City, and he's like, yeah, to be honest, that's what I got told as well. So it was more like I think literally everyone was for sale. Obviously, in the end, as we know, like how it worked out, I'm happy that's how it happened. But it was. I didn't know too much either until literally I got a phone call from my agent saying that there was a fee agreed. Yeah.
Nice. I mean, did you know much about the club? Obviously, you would have played against us a few times, but assuming you didn't know too much about the area before you signed for Bristol City.
No, nothing, to be honest. Like I said, because we've always lived around, obviously, like the Birmingham area. I didn't really know anything about the city. Like I said, the club, I played, I think, a couple of times against them before I signed, so I knew about the stadium and stuff. But me and my wife, when we actually moved to Bristol and we bought the apartment, we couldn't believe what a beautiful city it was.
Yeah. Did it almost help you settle in more, just knowing like how wanted and how loved you were by Lee Johnson? You know, he said that he wanted an Andi Weimann type player, and that he basically couldn't believe that we signed the actual one. So that must have given you a bit of a confidence boost when you joined.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think as a player, you always want to obviously feel wanted and know that you've got someone who believes in you and trusts in you, and that's exactly how I felt. I think when even the conversations obviously before I signed, what he wanted me to be when I came in, and the way he seen me play and things like that was all positive. And yeah, again, it wasn't quite 2 years, but just under 2 years that I had him was, I really enjoyed it. I think obviously when I was fit, I think he picked me for pretty much every game, and it was something that as a footballer you really relish when you got that confidence.
Yeah, and you replaced Bobby Reid, who was our sort of talisman really the season before. Was that, I guess, sort of big shoes to fill in some sense, but also a bit of a challenge to relish at the same time?
Yeah, and obviously he did brilliant the year before, and then I'm quite a player who's quite relaxed. Like, I don't ever like really set myself targets. I just want to like go enjoy myself and like be the best I can be. And to be fair, I think that's what I did when I came to Bristol, when I came to the area, and I came to Bristol City. And yeah, the only thing I remember is Lee Johnson wanted me to have number 14 because I think Bobby Reid had it, and he was the top goal scorer the year before. So I think he told Scotty to make sure that I get number 14. So obviously, in the end, it's a number I obviously like a lot now. Yeah.
There's me thinking sort of, Thierry Henry was your idol growing up. No, it was Lee Johnson being superstitious.
It was, to be fair, because before I came to Bristol City, I never had 14 though. So, but then since then, I've always had it. So good.
Nice. The little 1%, as he always used to talk about. Just making sure you've got the right squad number also helps. It's a pretty big summer. We'll talk about another one in the sort of following season, but he joined at the same time in the same window as Adam Webster and Thomas Callas. I imagine must have made training pretty hard playing against those two every day.
Yeah, no, that first year that partnership they had was brilliant. They were both very good. Obviously, you've seen where Webby's gone now, what he's gone on to do. So it was but it's good. I think obviously you want to play against those players in training. You want to test yourself against them. But as people as well, both of them were really good, and had really good relationships with both of them. Yeah.
They definitely had a great relationship with each other. You always see opposition strikers talking about them as being the strongest pair, and that team definitely, for the first portion of the season, had a really strong foundation, didn't it? And sort of ground its way through games. Lots of 1-0 wins, certainly. Partway through the season, though, a young Antoine Semenyo came back from loan. He's sort of OSIB's darling, for what it's worth. Some of us knew he was going to do great things. Some of us weren't sure. I won't mention who that was. What were your early impressions? Because he nearly went to Chelsea. There was a bit of a hoo-ha internally. Should we sell him now? Should we keep him? He made an impression in his first few games, didn't he?
No, yeah, he definitely did. I think when he first started playing with us, I think you could just see how strong he was. I think that was the first thing I think you noticed, like how strong he is and how quick he was. I think one of his strengths as well is he's both-footed. I think he uses his right foot exactly the same as his left foot. When he first started training with us, I think you could see straight away that there's definitely a player there. I think he maybe needed a few months or a few games to fully feel confident in himself as well. I think to have the belief how good he is, and then once he got that belief and that confidence, you've seen what he's gone on to do now at Bournemouth, but what he did in a couple of years or a year and a half, whatever it was at Bristol City as well.
I mean, you talked about, spotting quite early on the training ground that, this kid's got something, this kid's got some talent. How do you go around spotting that he might need some help building his confidence? I mean, you weren't the most senior player at that point, but you certainly would have been a fair bit older. Is there a conversation? Is there whispers, coach and players getting together? How do you notice, we need to build up his confidence, let's try our best to do it?
I think to be fair, every club I've been at in training, everyone's quite, complimentary. So maybe if you'd hit a shot and it'd gone in, and just give him a little well done, brilliant. Or if he's gone past someone, do it again, keep doing it, and just things like that. Or if he lost the ball, maybe say don't worry about it. Just little things like that, I think can help you a lot, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean that was obviously your first season at the club, and it's your first sort of landmark moment really with the hat-trick at Sheffield United. Again, just a day where everything seemed to fall right for you, but did that feel like your properly cemented in the squad and settled in the area at that point as well?
Yeah, I think so. I think obviously, yeah, when I first started, I think I started off really well. I scored in every game, I think 5 and 5. And then, yeah, I didn't score for a while. But then, yeah, that game, yeah, it was obviously one I'll never forget. It was obviously my first ever hat-trick, my first ever career hat-trick. I remember obviously the game was massive as well, because obviously we were trying to get into the playoffs, and they were fighting to go automatic. So it was a big game, and yeah, we went obviously down twice, I think, and then yeah, to come back and obviously score the 2 goals to turn it around and make it 3-2 was, yeah, something I'll never forget. And obviously seeing the away end go crazy, and then taking a match ball home was, yeah, definitely one of my best days in football.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned that it was a big game. I think we were right in it really up until that point, and then we won one of the final 6 and dropped out of the playoffs towards the end of the season. Is that just a case of sort of running out of steam, really, or do you think there's a bit of momentum that we couldn't quite get back? We also had quite a few winning streaks and losing streaks under Lee Johnson, and that was one of the losing streaks that came probably at the worst point of the season.
Yeah, I remember one game, to be fair. I think I missed the game because I probably remember we thought I broke my foot, I think. I missed, I think it was Wigan at home it was, and I missed that one game. I'll never forget it. I think they equalised in like the 97th minute.
Yeah.
I think, to make it 2-2.
There was basically no one there.
Yeah, and I remember sitting in the stands, and I think in the 92nd minute we were 5 points inside the playoffs, and then we dropped 2 points, and I think it was Villa scored 2 goals in injury time to like beat, I don't know who it was, Sheffield Wednesday or someone like that. So then within literally 2 minutes of extra time, it went from being 5 points clear to just 1 point, and that was like, yeah, obviously. And then I think we played Villa the next game as well, or soon after that, and then obviously that's when, yeah, I think so. I think that game, I think that goal in the literally last second, I think that was a bit of a big blow to the.
I went to that Villa game. That Villa game is a big what if for me. Because I think there's a disallow. I can't remember who it was. Whether it was
Andy, yeah.
Or
your header, yeah.
Someone scored an offside goal. Someone had a goal disallowed.
I scored.
What were you doing?
Yeah.
What were you doing? What were you doing there?
I don't think it was offside, to be fair.
No, it wasn't.
It's a good thing you didn't celebrate. It's a good thing you didn't celebrate either.
Welcome back, Andi Weimann. Here's we won't flag you offside for an onside goal. That would have been nice. Come on.
Yeah, it would have been. But yeah, no, I remember that game. I think that was probably one. That was Max. Was unbelievable, that game, to be fair. I think he made about 10 saves. I think they got a penalty as well, which I think wasn't really a penalty. So yeah, it was. Yeah, I think, like I said, that Wigan game, I think, started it a little bit, and then yeah, obviously the Villa game, if we even would have got a draw out of that, and then I think it was Derby at home that we lost, I think, and they went above us, and then yeah, fortunately didn't get in.
Yeah, that was frustrating as fans. I think in the stadium, in hindsight, I guess we were kidding ourselves, but we thought, it's not going to go this way. It won't go this way. We've played so well throughout the season. We're going to find a way to win, like we have this entire time. What's going on in the changing room when you're worried? Actually, hang on, we might drop below the dotted line here.
I think you always believe. I think even if maybe we would have been the ones in 7th or 8th, I think you always think you're going to get there. Obviously, then when it gets to like the last couple of games and you've lost a couple in a row, I think maybe, I don't know, that's just me thinking, maybe we didn't maybe have the experience that people have been in the playoffs before as much. Maybe people were getting a bit nervous. I don't know, but I think we didn't. I don't think we did too much wrong. Like I said, I think it was a few things that went against us. I think even the Derby game, I remember, I think we if we would have beat them, we would have been in the playoffs, I think. But I think even like as crazy as a footballer, you pretty much remember every game you played in, literally. So I remember, I think the first goal that they scored was like, it would have gone straight. I think Nicky was in goal, Lineper, and it would have literally rolled into his hand, and I think it hit Thomas and just went completely the other corner and just trickled in, and then you 1-0 down, and then I think I actually hit the bar as well in the second half, and then Antoine got sent off, and then they like hit us on a counter attack in like the 90th minute. So it's just those games where you're like, like what, like you say, what could have been, but it wasn't. I don't think it was anything to do like that. We played really bad. I think it was a few things like that just didn't go our way.
Yeah, I'll never forget Lampard's fucking fist bumps at the end of a game. I was so jealous. I was so jealous of those Derby fans at full time. I mean, that was one of the seasons where I probably went away the most. I absolutely loved watching City away that season. I mean, loads of iconic wins. I remember going up to Borough. I remember watching us at Nottingham Forest. It was a real backs against the wall job, grinding out these 1-0 wins, and it was almost a bit like we were coming each week to ruin someone else's party. They were expecting their team to win, and we would just frustrate them from the back with a real solid team, Fam and everyone else doing all sorts. What was it like as players? I mean, do you revel in that style of football where it's almost frustrate first, score a goal, we're going to take our time? It's not Pulis ball, but...
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it is. I mean, look, I think as long as you're winning, I think you don't really care. Like if you win 7-0 or you win 1-0 as a footballer, you like. And we were winning games, like you said. I think there was one game where we won nine in a row or 10 in a row at some point that season. So like, it was working. So we were happy with what we were doing. We had like I think it was a 4-1-4-1 shape, and it was. We knew we'd score a goal. I think we knew we had a goal in us, whether that might be from a corner or a counter attack, or someone had a goal in them. And like you said earlier, with Webby and Thomas at the back, we were confident that we also could keep teams out. So yeah, we were happy. Like I said, we were confident. We believed we could make those playoffs, but yeah, fortunately in the end we didn't.
Yeah, fell slightly short, but I guess it probably would have given you a bit of confidence that we're going into the next season that we could have a good go at going again. And we spent really big money. I know obviously Lloyd Kelly went for big money to Bournemouth, but brought in, I guess, Thomas, Jada Silva, Casey Palmer on permanence from the loans the previous season, and Dan Bentley. Does that give you sort of extra confidence as a player within the club to see that the club are really going for it ultimately?
Yeah, it did. If I'm being honest, I think it was a bit strange, to be fair, that going into the second season, because I thought we had a really, really good squad, and then I think it was deadline day, out of nowhere, a few players left, and then it was almost like, not a new changing room, but it was quite a few personalities that left. Obviously Marlon left. I think obviously Webby ended up going just before the season started. Hato went, yeah, exactly. So it was a bit like everyone who came in was good and they were brilliant, but it was a bit of a change of like just in the changing room. Like, so I think it took us a while to get going again at the start of the season to fully like click into gear. But like I said, I think once we did, I think we had another good season until it got obviously cut short in the end by COVID. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think there's almost a little bit of panic? I know obviously Adam Webster went the day before the season started, and we played a Leeds team opening game that were one of the best championship teams ever. But that sort of sparked, as you say, a few players out of nowhere leaving on deadline day that played a lot of games for the club and obviously really well liked. But do you think there was maybe an element of overthinking or a bit of panic because we hadn't started the season too well?
Maybe, yeah. Obviously, yeah. Like I don't know what obviously like the higher ups thought. I think it was like I said, it was a little bit different after deadline day. But I think everyone who came in, to be fair, like obviously Benny came in, and then and Casey, me and Benny like struck up quite a good partnership until obviously Benny got injured. But yeah, it was just like I said, there's nothing wrong with Harton. It was just like a bit of a different dynamic in the changing room because there's a lot of new faces, a lot of people who have been there a while obviously left. So it was, we just needed to obviously get together again and find that, well, not team spirit, but just everyone understand each other again and get going.
Yeah. Do you remember, you mentioned Bennett there, do you remember the training session where he got injured, the noise that echoed around Fayland, it sounded like?
Yeah, no, I do. It was, I think I was on his team, to be fair. We did it's literally just a small sided game, and I think that he just tried to keep the ball in, and then the next thing you could hear was Bennick shouting, and then obviously the way he was shouting, obviously you knew it was something serious, and then obviously when we got the news, obviously it was a bit very very disappointing because obviously, say when he came in, he started off on fire. To be fair.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of excitement from the fans after, I think it was 5 games that Benicofobia might have played. After 5 games, the way he hit the ground running and the way you, him, and Casey Palmer all interacting brought us loads of joy. And it's slightly harder for us to work out from the stands. I think this is working. This looks like it's working. I mean, as a professional, we know with a fair amount of games under his belt by that point. Was it obvious that it was going to work, you three as a partnership?
Yeah, I think so. I think they said. I think we changed formation. I think we went to it was like a 3-5-2, and yeah, I've always said that in interviews that I think my best position is playing off a striker or next to someone else as a second striker. And with Benik, like I said, it just clicked straight away. To be fair, and then I think Casey enjoyed it because he almost had like a free role in that 10 behind us too, and he obviously one of his strengths is like dribbling and through balls, and both of us were willing runners. So I think it just worked, to be fair, straight away. And then, like I said, it obviously only lasted 5 or 6 games, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned COVID, but just before the season sort of curtailed, Josh Brownhill left. I think you sort of mentioned big personalities, big characters that have been in the club for a while. He's another one that left, and Naki Wells came in. Again, does that sort of feel like the club sort of doubling down on promotion at that point, replacing a midfielder with a striker?
Yeah, well, I think that's what everyone spoke about, wasn't it? Like fans and in the press, that's what we need, a number 9, like who can score goals. And obviously, Naki's proved that his whole career that he can do that. So, yeah, we were obviously excited him coming in and to hopefully kick on from January. And then, like I say, I remember we played Fulham and I think Naki scored, and then that was it.
Yeah, that was literally it.
We were playing outside the playoffs, I think, with 9 games to go, and then obviously, and then the season just stopped, and then obviously after that we didn't start that well.
No. What was that sort of off period like? I sort of forget as well. Probably a good 2-3 months. There was lots of news, wasn't there, around everyone's going to have to be in a bubble and they'll play the games in Birmingham. They probably would have suited you, to be fair. You know, play all the games at Wembley. There's all these sorts of rumours flying around. But was it hard? Obviously, you know, you're a professional athlete, so it must be hard to try and keep yourself in as good a shape as possible ultimately for whenever the season might come back.
Yeah, I think it was obviously probably like just yourselves as well. It was just strange. We didn't know when we'd be back. Just every week or so, we just got saying, you got to stay at home again for another week. And then obviously then we had the lockdowns where you knew you're not going out for another month or 2 at least. And then, but to be honest, in a strange way, I quite enjoyed it. As in, like, I remember the weather was unbelievable, to be fair, and obviously, just being home like with the kids for 2 months was nice. The only thing I had to do homeschooling, so that wasn't the best. But yeah, fitness wise, I think that was probably the fittest I've ever been, because, like you said, you couldn't leave your house, and we had a treadmill at home, and literally I just went on the treadmill every day. We had like almost a routine where like I'd wake up to a run, then my wife did one, and then sort the kids out, and then chill in the afternoon in the garden. So it was like every day. Obviously, every day was the same, but it was quite nice just being at home for a while, because, like you said, you've been away for loads of times. But obviously, you obviously missed football, because that's what you want to do.
So while, I was going to say the rest of us, I don't want to speak for Pete, but while some of us were eating Doritos and playing Call of Duty on furlough, actually you reckon that might have been the fittest you've been since you started playing football?
Well, I think football fitness is obviously different than running on a treadmill. So but as in probably like I said, I was on the treadmill every day, which obviously I wouldn't normally do during the season, and then. Yeah, to be fair, we were good during the week. We were good, and then Fridays and Saturdays, that's when everyone had a quiz, wasn't it? You were online doing quizzes, so then we had a few drinks. We had a few drinks over the weekend doing quizzes, but yeah, during the week we were good.
Nice. Do you remember the first training session back? Must have been quite a weird experience.
I do. It was very strange. It was. I think everyone had to obviously get a COVID test out the window. So we're driving into the training ground, we put the windows down, have a thingy up our nose, and then obviously you had to wait 2 or 3 minutes to know if you're negative, and then it was they had it all set up. So it was literally, I think at the first one back, I think there was only four at a time we were allowed to train in, or four people, or maybe five, something like groups of 4 or 5. So it was literally, you got your time slot, and then you had to walk in one way, and then when you finish your session, you'd walk back out the other way. So it was like one way around the building, back around the other building, so you didn't come contact with any of the other groups. So yeah, the first 2 weeks, I think, I only saw 3 other people. So you actually didn't see the teammates. You were just training, and then gradually, obviously, it went to, I think, groups of 8 or 9, and then the full group. But yeah, it was strange times. Yeah, for everyone, obviously, but yeah, for us as well. Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned that obviously we didn't have the greatest of returns really, but again, what was the first game like to play without fans away at Blackburn?
Well, actually, I missed that because I tested positive.
Of course you did, yeah.
So that was the only game I missed. But then I think, I can't remember actually who the next game was, but it was strange. It felt like a little bit like a training game. I think the first couple of games, just to get used to it, I suppose. But yeah, once you got used to it after 2 or 3 games, I think then obviously the professionalism kicks in, where you want to win a game. But I think the first game I played, to be fair, it was a bit like, what's going on here? Like it's a bit strange, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that run ultimately is what cost Lee Johnson his job. I think it was the game against Cardiff where it's mathematically impossible for us to get into the playoffs when he was sacked. I guess with the Times as well, it probably not somewhere that you can spend a lot of time with him in a confined room afterwards to discuss. But was that a bit of a shock for players and for the squad?
Yeah, I think every time a manager leaves, it's a bit, sad and a bit of a shock. I think we all, I can obviously only speak for myself, but I think we all enjoyed working under him. I think we did. Like I said, first season I was there, we did pretty well. Just missed out on the playoffs. The second season, like I said, up until COVID stopped us, we were point outside. So we had good times, and then is business, right? So obviously we lost, I think, 5 games in a row. So any manager, when they lose 5 games in a row, got to think that they're under a little bit of pressure. So yeah, was it a surprise? Maybe a little bit, but yeah, obviously again it was Cardiff as well. So then we lost that game, and maybe it was obviously the owners thought it was the right time to do it.
Club. I mean, when you look back on that period overall, I know sort of individually had some real highs, the hat trick against Sheffield United and some more. If someone pauses, stops you in the street and asks you to sort of revisit that period under Lee Johnson, how do you sum it up?
I think, it was, like you said, it was good times, but then it was a bit maybe strange times as well, because I think you just couldn't work it out while we went on those streaks almost, where we'd win all them games, and then you go on a losing streak, even though we haven't really changed anything. So I don't think it was like anything that he did or we did. It was just I don't know why, to be honest. But I can only say, like I said, I really enjoyed working with him. Like I said, obviously since he's left Bristol City, he's probably not done as well as he might have thought or he might have liked. But I think he's got a new job now, I've seen in Belgium. So hopefully he does well there. Yeah,
I mean that summer's sort of infamous really for Bristol City fans in terms of how long it took to find a replacement. I guess Dean Holden was appointed the day before pre-season, but it was a quite strange leading up to that point that you maybe didn't know who was going to be head coach, who'd be leading the training sessions up into Dean getting appointed the night before you're back in.
Yeah, no, it is. I think I don't know if you've heard it before or not, but literally as a player, you don't know either. You haven't got a clue. You only know what you read online or what you read on the radio. Who might come in, who may not come in. And I think it was was it Chris Hughton? It was I think they said on TalkSport, he's getting the job. So then obviously we all thought, it's him, and then it wasn't. And then you really don't know anything. You're out of the loop, and then again, and then you just see it pop up on Twitter. Dean Holden might get the job, and then he's got an interview, and then this, and then on Monday he might get appointed, and then it's official. So literally, you don't really know anything as a player either. But obviously, I think it was a bit different probably because I think we only had 2 weeks off maybe that season, and then we started straight away again. So it wasn't like a a long off season, so probably that's why it was a bit closer just to the start of pre-season than they probably wanted it to be. But it was, like I said, you don't really know either as a player.
Was it as much as a shock to you guys as it would have been to the fans when Dean got it?
No, well, maybe just because, like I said, what you read online, because I don't think his name probably got mentioned as much, to be honest. I think, but when he took over towards the end of the season, the 4 or 5 games that we had left, I think, well, we all knew, I think, that he's a really good coach. I think we all got on with him, and then, like I said, them 4 or 5 games, to be fair, I think he kind of changed it around a little bit. Obviously put, for example, me in a different position. And yeah, we did actually quite well in them 4 or 5 games. And then, yeah, when he got the job, like I said, I got on with him well, so I was happy for him. But then obviously then you don't know how he's going to be as a manager. But like I said, I thought I only had the next season 6 games with him, and then I got injured. But again, those 5 or 6 games, we won 5 out of them, I think. So, yeah.
Oh, I think it might be the first and probably only Bristol City player in history to try and run off a torn ACL, to be honest. Like, I still remember you hobbling around, everyone sort of saying can't be that serious because he's playing on. I think you mentioned at the time that you'd not miss a training session, hardly missed any games through injury. But do you know, even if you hadn't had injuries before, do you know that was a bad one once you'd done it?
No, not at all, no. I felt something, yeah, I did feel something, but it was, well, now I know, because I think, well, I can tell you, when you do your ACL and you do nothing with it, I think you only feel the original sharp pain, but because it's got no nerves in it, that's why you then don't have any pain after it. So yeah, I felt the little sharp pain, and then, yeah, I said to the physio, I think I'm okay. I think I just jarred my knee, and then obviously I tried running for a bit, and it just didn't feel right. It wasn't painful, but it just didn't feel. And I think we were losing at the time, so obviously I was like, I've got to come off because I'm not helping the team. And then again, the whole weekend, it was Saturday, the kids were down, I remember, and we went like Sunday dinner, and I was walking around the park, and there's no swelling, nothing. So I said, no, it can't be that bad. I would have just jarred it. And then, yeah, I came in Monday morning, and they did this test, obviously, where they kind of move your knee forward. It's like the test to do for a cruciate, and yeah, to be fair, when he did it, my knee nearly went off the table. And he said, yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Obviously, you need to have a scan. You need to have a scan, but I think you've done your cruciate. And I was like, I just couldn't believe it. I was like, what do you mean? I've just literally been carrying my kids for the whole weekend. I've not felt anything. And then, yeah, went and had a scan, and the surgeon who then did the operation, he was free at that time. So I literally went upstairs, and before he even seen the scan results, he knew that I'd done my ACL, and yeah, it's obviously a massive, massive shock.
I love that. What do you mean I've done my ACL? I just went for Sunday dinner.
I literally had no, because there was no swelling, nothing. I was like, and obviously, like, when you hear ACL, you think it's like obviously one of the worst injuries in football. And so I always thought if I do my ACL, I'd be like Bennick was. You know, when I spoke about Bennick earlier, when Bennick did something else with it as well, so that's why all the pain came from. And I just thought, like, yeah, it can't be serious, because there's nothing there.
Yeah. How long does it sort of take to sink in how serious it is, particularly if you haven't, you've gone your whole career without having a really bad one?
Yeah, I think when they talk, I think, like I say, I think I'm quite good on, like, just being calm and, like, relaxed about everything. And I think I was alright. I think it was my wife who was crying more than me when I told her. But no, I was fine. I was like I said, I've never had a long-term injury, so I was just like, it's fine. Like, I'll get it done, and I'm like that person. Like, everything will be fine. Like, everything's okay. The worst thing was the 3 days before surgery, because, like I said, we were still in COVID times, and I had to have a COVID test on the Friday, and then I had to isolate for 3 days before I was allowed in hospital. So, like, I was in the apartment in Bristol, like, by myself, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, just obviously waiting for the surgery. So that was the toughest 3 days, to be fair. Just sitting around, like, in an apartment, knowing that I'm waiting to have surgery. But then once I had the surgery, I think I said it in interviews before. I think obviously didn't enjoy it, but I kind of enjoyed the journey of like little steps and getting back to fitness and not proving people wrong, but proving that I can come back from this and like I can come back stronger and quicker than people say, and just things like that. So that's like the mindset I had, that I just wanted to like do everything possible to come back as quick as possible and as good as possible.
Is it one of those experiences where you almost have a new win to celebrate every week or 2 weeks because, you've stretched for the first time or you've extended your knee for the first time? You're sort of ticking these things off. You can see the journey and the horizon in front of you.
Yeah, definitely. That's what it is. I mean, the first one was losing one crutch and then losing the second crutch and then just walking again, or just like lifting your leg up, standing on one leg, and then the next thing will be like stepping onto a box. Like it was literally like almost you have to learn to walk again. So it was just those little steps, and then when you gradually like get better, then you're on the bike for the first time after a month, and then you go out. I think I was outside after 3 months just for a little jog, and just those little things like you really look forward to. Yeah,
I mean, you came back to happier times, I suppose, with fans back in stadium and also Nigel Pearson replacing Dean. Someone you worked with, albeit relatively briefly at Derby, but someone you were looking forward to working with again when you came back?
I was, yeah, because I really enjoyed, like I say, it was only 3 months. I think he was at Derby when I was there, but I loved working with him then. I really got on with him, and obviously when he first came in, I was still injured and I was out of contract at the end of the year. So yeah, he only had his contract to the end of the season as well. So we obviously like said hello, hugged each other, but we said obviously I'm not going to play again under you, basically. Like that's and then obviously how it worked out, like he got a 3-year contract, I signed another contract, but at first I was happy for him to come in, but like I said, I didn't know if I'd play under him because obviously I was injured till the end of the season. Yeah,
I mean you certainly did, because he was the one who formed the famous WSM with you, Chris Martin, Antoine Semenyo. I mean, what was it about you three that you think just clicked so well? Because it wasn't like it was a purple patch; it was basically like that entire season. It felt.
Yeah, I don't know. I think everyone had obviously their own strengths, and I think all those strengths kind of just worked together brilliantly. Because you had obviously, like we spoke earlier about Antoine, like when he's how strong he is, and he used to love moving out to the wing and get past players and cross it or cutbacks and things like that. And then you have Chrissy, who's, I think has got, every time I played with him, one of the best touches like you've seen as a striker. How he can bring players into play. And then my own, I was playing in that 10 position in behind those two strikers. And for me, it was, the perfect position, I think, because them two, like I said, almost fought the centre-backs, and I was the one who was just arriving in the box and was unmarked. So, it was just, I think everything just worked together.
I mean, you talked earlier about not necessarily setting goals for yourself ahead of a season and more than anything wanting to enjoy your football. Did you expect to score that many goals ahead of the season? Did you get an inkling that, okay, I'm not going to set myself a target, but I could be in for a fruitful season?
Well, first of all, I think it was straight after my ACL. So I think the first thing was obviously I tried to get a good pre-season into me because I'd missed the previous, like most of the season, and then I played the first couple of pre-season games and I felt really good, and I was really fit because it was a bit. Well, you probably got to go back to the season before, just because I think I started training 10 days before the season finished, I think, with the team. And then it was almost for me like, well, I've just missed the whole season and I'm off for 6 weeks again. So I actually didn't stop, so I just carried on training because I was like, I can't just stop now after I've just trained for 10 days. And then I came back to pre-season like really in a good place, really fit. And then I think it was Celtic we played in the first game, and that was like the first big tick. Then it was my first game after the ACL injury, and then in pre-season I got a couple of goals, and I felt good. I felt really fit. I enjoyed it. And then I think it was Reading, I scored 2 goals, and that was like, again, that's the next, like we talked earlier about little steps, and then that was it, like, oh yeah, I've scored now, I'm back, like I've proved I'm fit, like I've started the games before, but now I've scored again. I scored a goal, and then yeah, from then on, to be fair, it carried on, and then I think from January, I think there was a time when just me, Anton, and Chrissy just nearly scored every game, and you just went into the game knowing that you're gonna at least get a chance, and then obviously, like I've always said, I back myself if I get a chance, and then it was one of them things where you didn't really think about anything, you just went on the pitch and you know something would happen.
Down. Obviously, you're playing in a team sport, but you get individual plaudits. Is there ever a weird mix where you think, I've had a brilliant season, but the team hasn't? How much do I celebrate it?
No, I think, yeah, I don't know if you'll believe me or not, but I'd rather win and I don't score, just because I just feel like the feeling you obviously get if you lose a game, it's horrible. And we obviously unfortunately lost quite a few games that year. But it was a bit strange because I think we actually played some decent football. I think it was just really it was really a transition like that year. I think there was a lot of young players who played. Obviously, Alex played his first season, and then Eamon played a few games, and they were playing as wing backs, and it was just like we had to play almost players in positions they've never played before because we didn't have a big squad or we had loads of injuries, and it was, I think we did the best we could. I think, but it was it was a bit strange, to be fair. Yeah, it was a strange season.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned a bit earlier on that maybe we didn't have the experienced players in the group that had experience of things we were going through, but I guess Matty James and Andy King were two players that almost felt quite obvious when Nigel was given a deal that those two would be joining from Leicester. Was that nice to have just a bit more sort of experience within the group?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously at that stage, I just turned 30 as well, so obviously I was then an experienced player, I guess, by then.
You sure? You're chuckling.
I think so.
I'll throw myself in there. I'll throw myself in as an experienced player.
Yeah, no, I think so. But no, obviously, I think you need those players around. I think, like I said, now I'm one of those players. I think you need them in the changing room. Just like you said, if things aren't going well, not to go overboard, because I think when you're younger, like I spoke about earlier, when you lose a game, like it's the end of the world, or when you win a game as well. On the other hand, like don't get too excited. So I think once you have players there who've been there and done that, and they just can keep everyone level almost, and just say like, look, we're doing okay, we've done this well, keep going, it'll turn. Or on the other hand, say like, nah, like we need to liven up a bit. It's not good enough. I think you need that. I think it helps the young players because you can not take them under your wing, but like just help them a little bit as well when they're too down and things like that. So I believe you definitely need 2 or 3 experienced players in the squad, definitely.
Yeah, it was definitely an intriguing mix of older pros and young starlets coming through, wasn't it, that season and a little bit before and after. As fans, we definitely enjoyed seeing these academy players come in. It's very, it's not unique to Bristol City, but we certainly care about it, as much as any other club up and down the country. These young players coming in. I remember we won't skip ahead, but I remember when Nigel Pearson left, the outpouring of love that he got from these young players. What was it? What little touches did he put in and around the training ground and the stadium that made him so appreciated by these young players? Because he was playing a lot of them for sure.
Yeah. Well, I think probably the first thing you probably have to say is it's probably the first time they've seen a manager get sacked as well. Probably I remember Alex and Tommy, for example. They've never seen a manager leave because obviously Nigel gave them their debuts and things. So I think that was a bit strange for them. So that's probably one of the reasons, I guess, why that happened. But also, I think it was just obviously I'm not going to hide that I loved working with him. Obviously, he was brilliant, I thought. But he was I think his man managing. I think just around the place. I think he was the same with everyone, like staff, players. I think that was his big strength. I think in and around the training grounds, or how he spoke to people, how he got everyone together, like fighting for the same thing. I think that was definitely one of his main strengths. I think like the day-to-day man management side of it. I think he said you guys run the changing room. That's why I trust you. That's why obviously I became captain under him towards the end, and it was that's why you're my senior players. Like it's you who run the change room. If there's any problems, of course, like we'll tell him and he'll sort it out. But he was much like you guys sort the change room, because that's what, like you said, you're together all the time, and you know what everyone needs. Like everyone's a bit different, but you see it also. Like he was very much like you guys run the change room and I'll deal with like outside things or whatever, things like that. I think it just, to be fair, I think it just changed a little bit that season. In it, like, I think obviously Alex started playing more centrally, and then obviously Naki and Tommy almost that season. Then Tommy obviously started playing games and scoring goals, and then Naki, and then it was more like me in behind Naki and Tommy, and Chris didn't play as much, and then we changed to like a 4-3-3, and then Chris obviously didn't get as much game time as he probably would have liked, and he's probably a bit similar to me. He obviously wasn't happy. He's not a quiet person either, so you could see he wasn't happy, and I think it was like, let's just say football. Sometimes it's time to move on. I think for him it was to kind of further his career, to play more games. It was probably time for him to have a change. Yeah.
Say he wasn't. Is he just sort of like brings a megaphone to training and shouts about the training ground?
No, but he's just like obviously he's if he's not happy, you'll know. But
He'll let you know.
If he's happy, you also know he's happy. So he's,
That's good. Those are my sort of mates. Okay, so we've talked about how it feels. I mean, you've sort of explained already how it feels to be a player when a manager is sacked, but we'll ask you again for Nigel Pearson, because I'd say this one actually was the first of the three we've discussed already where fans were pretty dismayed. And some fans might have seen maybe we were moving in this direction, but for the most part there was quite a bit of shock and a fair bit of anger. People starting to point fingers at the club and the board. Pearson's not had enough tools in his arsenal, etc. How did you react that time around? And were you aware, maybe, or are you aware in general, of how fans react when a manager goes?
I think these days you can't get away from it. I think with the social media, I think you pretty much see everything these days. Again, it was, like I said, I loved working with him, so I was obviously disappointed. But obviously at that time, to be fair, I think he obviously had a few problems with his health. So I don't know if that had something to do with it. Obviously, I wasn't in the conversations that the owners had, or the sporting directors, or whoever made the decision in the end. But obviously, I wasn't in those conversations. But maybe that had something to do with it. Again, it was after a game against Cardiff, so I just remember I was the captain at the time, and to be fair, Brian Tinnion called me on the Sunday and said, "Look, I just want you to let the boys know that we've decided to let Nigel go." So then, obviously, I had to put in the boys group chat obviously what was happening. When he called me, obviously I was a bit shocked. Because obviously I didn't want him to leave, but like I said, I don't know if it was just results or if it was his health, and it was both of those things. But for me, obviously personally, I was disappointed to see him go.
Just briefly then on Pearson, we've talked a little bit as fans, and we've seen it in the media, talking about his general illnesses. As players, is that something how aware were you of that? Is it something you discussed with him? Did he talk to you about how it might have been affecting his role or his job?
I think, I don't know how much it affected him, to be honest. I think that he missed a couple of weeks because he obviously had long COVID and then things like that. But to be fair, I think he'd probably say that as well. He's like I said earlier, he's more like a man manager. So like on the grass, it was probably more the assistant coaches taking the training anyway. So I wouldn't think that had too much of an impact. And then he was there obviously for all the meetings and stuff. So, but I think you could tell a little bit that he was a bit frustrated, just because he was on crutches at some point as well, wasn't he? So he was, you could see he was frustrated, and I think he just wanted to know what the problem was. So it was obviously for himself. I think it was a tough time.
Yeah, you could tell. You could tell in his demeanour. I mean, he wasn't over exuberant all the time, was he? And certainly not in press conferences, but you could tell there was a slightly lower general level of energy with Nigel Pearson during that time. I mean, you were loaned out in January then, not long after Nigel Pearson was sacked, but you obviously would have crossed paths a little bit with Liam Manning. I mean, it feels sort of a bit pointless talking about him because he moved on so quickly, but, take us inside an average Liam Manning, change your room, training ground. He's talked up as a coach. Players and pundits and fans alike are certainly bigging him up. So how did you find your time with him, albeit a brief one?
Yeah, like I said, I think it was only five weeks or 6 weeks maybe, and yeah, no, to be fair, I don't really have a bad word to say about him. I think he was great when I came in. Obviously, like I said, mentioned I was the captain. He was asking me about like advice and things and what was going on, and then on the pitch, yeah, he was, like I say, he was probably the complete opposite to Nigel. He was more like the on the grass coach who maybe didn't speak as much or like have that. Like, I'm not saying he didn't, but he didn't have the same as Nigel had, like man management skills. I think, but like I said, that was his strength, and then Liam's strength was the on the grass coaching. I think his training sessions were really good. So I really enjoyed them. You could see like the plan he had and the ideas he had were really good. How he like brought him across on the training pitch was brilliant. And then yeah, like I said, and then a month later I left.
It's the way. It's the way. I mean, as a player, do you have a preference? I guess ideally you'd have a head coach who was amazing at man management and on the grass and really great. I mean, is there a particular type of coach that you like? Does one bother you more than the other? Do you examine one set of attributes more than the other?
Yeah, well, like I say, I think if you've got both, that's probably what a Pep Guardiola is probably like. That's, I guess. But no, I think yeah, everything brings something out of someone else. I think like for me, like I said, I really enjoyed Liam and the coaching he did on the grass. But then maybe I don't know, maybe a younger footballer might need that more, and then someone else might, like for myself, I was confident. Obviously, I was 32 at the time. I wasn't gonna learn too much more that I didn't know probably. I think. I obviously loved working with Nigel and his man management skills, but then some other players might really enjoy just the coaching. So I think every player is just a little bit different, and then I think that's the coach's strength then as well, or the manager's strength to see what a player needs, like how do you need him, like what does he need, how do you need to speak to him, and then probably that's one of the toughest thing I guess probably as a coach.
I mean, what would you say, if you were looking at a younger Andy Weimann and Andy Weimann now, what would you tell a potential manager that he needed?
I think, I think definitely the on the grass coaching. I think just learning things, different tactical things like knowing where to be on a pitch, things like that. Probably more tactical because I think, yeah, when I was younger, I think I've always been like all right, like attitude wise and things like that. So I think that, so yeah, definitely, I think understanding the game more probably, which again, that to be fair comes a little bit with age. But yeah, probably the on the grass stuff. Yeah.
Interesting, interesting. I mean, there's a bit of a weird situation at this point. It was fairly out there, or at least it seemed out there to the fans that the club maybe didn't want to play because of potentially triggering a contract extension and whatever else. I mean, it seemed weird from afar. How was it for you being part of that weird dynamic, if it even was there, of course?
Yeah, no, like yeah, look, it ended not how I obviously wanted to end it. To be fair, leaving the club, I think, yeah, obviously I can say that yeah, there wasn't an option in the contract that obviously the club didn't want to trigger, and yeah, it was a bit strange to be fair because it was almost like I wasn't allowed to play just because if I play like 2 or 3 more games, I'd get another year. So again, I think that's what we spoke about earlier when I said I'm not happy sitting on the bench. I could have happily just stayed to the end of the season and seen the contract out, but obviously I didn't want to do that. So I made it quite clear that either like you honour the contract or like let me go and play. And obviously in the end, I think if you look back, it worked out well because I went obviously back home to the Midlands to West Brom, ended up in the playoffs, and then obviously managed to get into the Euro squad as well. So I think it worked out well, but like I said, it probably didn't end as I wanted it to be fair.
Yeah. How do those conversations sort of present themselves? Because I guess you would have been aware of the option they would. Do they come to you and say, by the way, you're not going to play, or do you sort of say, I know what's going on here, can you just admit it, sort of thing?
Look, I don't want to say too much, but it's like it was coming from the club. Yeah, it wasn't from me. It was more like from the club, and that's what I said. Obviously, I'm not happy just sitting here not playing. I wanted to go on loan, and obviously, like I said, I had the big dream of going to the Euros, and I knew if I'd only play 10 minutes every week, there's no way I was doing that. So I wanted then to move on.
Yeah, we say it definitely worked out, and I was really keen to ask you about Carlos Corberán, to be honest, because he's probably, throughout the last sort of 18 months, 2 years, arguably the most underrated probably Championship manager, and you can see the job that he's doing now at Valencia. I imagine he's very different to someone like Nigel Pearson, probably more akin to Liam Manning. But I mean, what is it about him you think that has caused his success, and how intense is he? As intense as he looks on the sideline every day?
Yeah, he is to be fair. I think to be fair, how he is. Like he's just so intense in training, and then we'd have meetings probably like an hour and a half long, just about literally every single detail, and like you just again, maybe if you're losing games, you might get another meeting, but because we were winning games and we were in the playoffs, and you like everything he said like was true. So like he'd say like if you play something simple as if you play out to the left back, the left wing is then free because he presses, and like he did it, and then it actually happened in the game. So you're like, he knows what he's talking about, and then. So like, he was really good, to be fair. I got to say, like as a manager, and as like how he looks at the game. I think even those 4 months, I think I probably learned quite a bit, just looking at a game a bit different. Just little things like if someone presses you, move with like follow the press almost, so then you go away from the other defender, and just little things, or like stand on the ball because someone has to press you, and then that creates space for someone else, and just little things that like that actually works. So like he was really good, to be fair.
I like the idea of like an hour and a half meeting. Not sure, and then you start winning games, but like let's watch it again. let's run through it again. Come on. Oh, it makes sense. I mean, it looked like a really, really fun period at West Brom, especially under him. Just jumping ahead to Blackburn, slightly bizarre moment last season, getting a standing ovation for scoring against Bristol City. Now, I Pete might have been booing, Pete might have been swearing and booing, I don't know, but the most of the fans in Ashton Gate were applauding. Didn't fancy a little knee slide, a little sort of finger gun? You never tempted as a player to go all pantomime villain and take the mick and then apologise after?
No, because like I said, I didn't get the chance to like say goodbye really, because I left so quickly, and it was strange going back for the first time, to be fair. Just being in the away changing room and seeing everyone in the stadium, so like all the staff that you've seen for the last 5.5 years. So it was a bit strange, and then even the warming up on the other half of the pitch, like just felt strange, and then just little things like it was a weird feeling. But then I was never going to celebrate, because like I said, I had the best 5.5 years, like one of the best of my career. So I was never going to celebrate, and it was really nice. I think especially when I got substituted, I think the whole stadium pretty much like gave me a standing ovation. So it was like it was really nice, and I really appreciated it.
Wow, hey, you earned it. You deserved it. I remember we interviewed Aaron Wilbraham, who had a similar moment, came on for Bolton after he left Bristol City and got a standing ovation. And then in the change room, one of the players turned to him and said, "Fucking hell, Aaron, did you win the World Cup with Bristol City or what?" So hopefully your Blackburn fans are a bit more understanding. Just briefly, I mean, I know we're interviewing you, Andy, but Pete, I'll turn to you. If I was a professional, and clearly I'm not, I play five-a-side once a week and think I'm brilliant, but if I was a professional footballer and grew up a Bristol City fan and played against them and scored, I'd go absolutely fucking mental. I would knee slide straight to Section 82, giving them wanker signs and get sent off, end my football career. Would you do similar, Pete?
I'd find my what would have been then at that point in this hypothetical scenario my season ticket seat and just run up to it. I think.
Sit down and clap yourself.
Yeah, get them out my seat.
Okay. Well, there you go. Well, what we're saying there, Andy, in a polite and very professional way, is we admire your restraint.
Yeah, to be fair, at first I thought I was offside anyway, so I didn't celebrate then, and then I just didn't carry on anyway. So no, like I said, I wanted to score, of course, but I knew that if I did, I wasn't going to do anything.
Yeah, carry on your streak of scoring offside goals against former teams. Did you sort of realise what was happening? Because to be honest, I sit in the south stand, so it is by me. You scored directly in front of me, and the few seconds in of realising what was happening was quite odd. But as a player, obviously, I don't know what the sort of sound reverb is like on the pitch from where you scored. But were you sort of aware of what was going on?
Yeah, I think I've, especially the last few years, I think I've had a knack of just being in the right place at the right time. And I think last season, I think I scored 9 goals, and I think 7 of them were tap-ins, just arriving at the right time. And I think that was the exact same one. I think obviously I was in the right place. The cross came in, and our strike obviously headed it, and he literally hit the post. And then I just seen it coming towards me, and all I had to do was just nod it into an empty net. It just happened really quick, but it's just on the pitch. It's just almost like just instinct. It just happens, and then I just looked if the flag was up or not, and then obviously I was happy.
Did you have to put it in? I mean, we would have clapped you if you put it over. You might have even got a jeer too. Did you have to put it? Did you think about it?
It worked out okay for Bristol City in the end because you won the game. So
we did it right. You gave us the momentum with that goal. It was very generous of you to do that. I mean, we've covered sort of most of your career to date. We've got a couple more bits to ask about. I mean, what's next? How are you finding the off season this time around? You excited for the championship season? At what point do you start to really get excited and feel like it's here, it's coming, it's time to really get ready now?
Well, like I said earlier, obviously I'm injured at the minute, so I haven't really had that much of an off season. I've just been doing rehab for most of it. I'm back on the grass now. I think I've got if you ask the physios, they might say different, but I think I've got maybe 2 or 3 weeks left till I'm fully fit with the team. I'm obviously excited that, like I said, it's those little steps again now, trying to get those last little fitness bits in. I'm on the grass, like I said, kicking the ball again and doing turns and stuff. So it's going well. I think I'm exactly where I should be after the surgery, and I think tomorrow. Well, so I don't know when this comes out. But tomorrow the fixtures get announced. So I think that's when the first time when you get a little bit excited when you see all the fixtures get released, who you play on the first day, but Christmas, all those kind of things. Obviously, I'll be looking when I'm playing Bristol City, and then all those things, and then that's when you get excited, and then when pre-season starts and everyone comes in, it's 6 weeks, but it goes really quick. To be fair, when you're in there.
Yeah, but I like the idea of if you ask the physio, they'll say something different. I mean, you know your body better than most, so I'll let you have that. Yeah, exactly. Okay, I mean, I don't want to skip ahead too far. I mean, you could play until you're 48, the levels of fitness that you showed at Bristol City. But do you ever think about life beyond your playing career? Do you ever sort of you've had such a wide range of managers? You've obviously played with people who have probably already gone into management since playing with you. Do you ever think about what life might be like for Andi Weimann post retirement?
No, I'm not 100% yet, to be honest. I've got hopefully I've got a couple of years at least left. Like I said, I still feel good and I still enjoy it. I think that's the most important thing. I think I still really want to go in every day and train and be with my teammates, and I love scoring goals. I love being on the pitch. So I think once that goes, I think that's probably when it's time to stop. I think I hope that I'll be able to stop myself, not because I have to stop. So I hope that I still can play for a few more years, and then after I'm not 100% sure. I've done some of my coaching badges, but I'm not 100% convinced I wanna be a coach. Maybe if I fall into it and and something happens maybe, but I'm not entirely sure that's what I want to do. So yeah, no, to be honest, the honest answer, I don't really know 100% yet now.
I think that sort of draws us to a close, really. I think you mentioned that it didn't end the way that you wanted it to at Bristol City, and I assume even sort of living in the city of Bristol really didn't really get a chance to say goodbye properly until you came back and scored against us. We always let the guests have the last sort of word, really. So any sort of final words to Bristol City fans listening?
Yeah, no, like I mentioned, I think it probably comes out how I spoke. I think I really, really loved my time there. I think the 5.5 years were amazing. Obviously, I felt it from the fans as well. I think they enjoyed me being there. I think I was well liked. So yeah, no, like all round, it was a brilliant time, and once I'll always look back with happy memories. And like I said, yeah, I didn't want it to, like I wanted probably maybe to get a goodbye or whatever, but I've got nothing bad to say about obviously the football club. I've loved my time there, and yeah, I'm looking forward to coming back hopefully next season, or hopefully scoring again.
You'll celebrate this time.
We'll see.
Gonna find Pete and go, they did that bloke, that weird bloke there. Yeah. He told me to do it. I'm sorry. Perfect. It's a perfect way to draw us to a close. Thank you very much, Andy. We've loved having you on.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed it. It was good.